If you're like me this time of year, it gets pretty lifeless feeling and drab. There's no color in the garden anymore, and we're looking for any sort of color that we can add to the garden. And just as gardeners, we're getting excited about those plant catalogs coming in and seeing the color again and starting to daydream. Well, if you're feeling the winter blues like me, we might have a project for you that you might be interested in to bring some of that spring to life a little bit early. Today we're going to force some spring blooming shrub branches and bring those into our house to provide a little color. So what we have here is a forsythia. Now typically you wouldn't want to prune this this time of year, because what you're going to be doing is cutting off any of those flowering blooms. So we are going to take a few branches off of this shrub, but we're going to get to enjoy those flowers indoors. Now, when you are cutting spring blooming shrubs, you can see that they already have the buds developed. They developed these in the year previous, and so like I said, if you're cutting these off, you're cutting the flowers also. Now, these buds, even though they've developed in the fall, they need 8 weeks below 40 degrees to feel like they've gone through that winter chilling period. We're past that, so now we can go ahead and harvest these and trick them into blooming. And what we're going to want to do is cut branches that are about 8 to 16 inches long. Again, anytime you're pruning a shrub, you want to make sure that you're pruning it correctly. So we don't want to harvest all of the branches from one side of the plant. We kind of want to look at the whole plant and take those branches down as low as possible. So this branch here is a little bit old and probably needs to come off anyway. So we're going to go ahead and prune this one out. Typically the best time to prune spring blooming shrubs is after they bloom and before these new buds begin to develop for the next year. However, since we are taking some of these branches, it's always important to think about how to prune properly. And one of the things that you want to look at is if there's any disease, and remove those branches first. The next thing is if there's any rubbing branches or crossing branches. You can see here that this branch is crossing the larger branch behind it here, and it's actually rubbing on that. So we want to go ahead and remove this branch here. Give it a little muscle and prune that, and we can use that in our display. We're going to take a couple more in here. Again, make sure you get those branches down low in the plant. And like this one here, you can see that this has a big Y to it. Now we've cut this branch, but we can actually cut it here later on and use this branch in the floral arrangement too. So just because it doesn't look like something you're going to use right away, we can make this work. So we're pruning on a forsythia here, but there's a lot of other spring blooming shrubs that you can also prune on, such as flowering quince, bridal-wreath spirea, and mock orange. Now that we've harvested our branches off of the shrubs, we're going to bring these back and we're going to recut them. We want to make sure that we cut at an angle. This allows for more water to be taken up by the branch, and you want to do it a couple of inches above your previous cut. So we'll put those, once we cut all of these, we'll put these back in some warm water, and we want to put these in a cool, partly shady area in our home, and that just allows these to kind of gradually warm up. So you can see that it's a nice winter day today, but had we harvested these branches when it was freezing, then you want to actually submerge the whole branch underwater. And you can do this in a bathtub overnight, and that allows the temperature to slowly rise in the branches. And this will transition those buds and allow them to break a little bit easier. Now, if you have a floral preservative, you want to add that. That will help the life of these branches. But if you don't, we're going to show you how to make one. We have a quart of water here, and to that you're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar, just plain cooking sugar. You're also going to add 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, and then a half of teaspoon, so just a little bit of bleach is what we're going to add. Not much at all. And what this does, the bleach and the sugar, it prevents any algae or bacteria from growing in the water, and the sugar actually provides food and carbohydrates to those branches so they keep growing. We're just going to stir this up, and we're going to add this. After we've added our floral preservative, we're just going to put these in a cool, semi-shady location in our house as the temperatures start to affect these buds. And we want to monitor them pretty frequently to monitor the water level so that they don't dry out, and also check to see if there's any color on the buds as they break. As soon as we start to see there's color, then that's when we can take them and start arranging them. Over here we have some branches that we harvested from the shrubs a couple of weeks ago, and you can see they've really come into some flowers. So we're going to take these and arrange them now, and this is not complicated at all. You don't have to be really skilled when you're doing this. You just need a couple of containers. This is the cheapest container you can get if you've enjoyed a glass of wine. And here is just another glass container. The nice thing about both of these is that they're tall and they're heavy, and they also have very narrow necks. So again, that will hold those branches because they tend to be heavy, and it'll keep them from falling over. So we're going to take our forsythia. I always like the yellow forsythia with the blue bottles. And again, you can't put very many branches in here. Depending on which branches you've harvested will kind of dictate how much you can put into this bottle. We have some thinner branches here, which is nice, and I'm just gonna put those in there. It's nice having the height. Again, it's very narrow. It's a contemporary kind of a look, but it's nice bringing this color into the office or in your home. On this other vase, we're going to use the quince. We're using this larger mouth vase for this because the quince tends to have a larger branch to it sometimes, a little bit irregular shape. It's not always straight. If you have any of these lower branches, now's a good time to go ahead and cut those off so that they can fit easily in here. And there's nothing to this. The nice thing about, again, having a tall, narrow neck is that holds those branches upright. Simply just going to arrange these so that you have some color around the entire display. Again, pruning off anything that might be sticking in its way. The nice thing is these will continue to bloom up the stem as they get exposed to more temperatures, higher temperatures. And you'll just put these in a nice location that is not in direct sun. Again, you don't want to expose them to too much direct sun, but you can bring them into a little bit more light than they were when they were being stored. And we'll put water in here and again some more floral preservative, and you'll have a nice display to carry you through those last few days of winter.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.